Has anyone seen this kicking around on social media recently? If you're not familiar, it's a visual representation of the 2018 Poor and Nemesek study on the environmental impact of different foods, particularly focusing on land use and resource inputs. If we believe this graph, we should all stop eating meat because it's apparently using way too much land that could be better used to grow crops and feed more people. This study is dictating food policy at the UN, the EU, and the World Economic Forum. And all of these organisations are pushing towards reducing or eliminating livestock farming, especially in Europe. But there are massive problems with this research, and many scientists globally have raised valid criticisms. So, why don't we hear about these scientists? Easy. They didn't get a 350 million grant from Bill Gates, who not only says the Western world should go plant based, but who has also invested billions in plant based meats and synthetic fertilizers. This isn't a conspiracy theory, just Google it. So, what's the problem with the Poor and Nemesek study? Well, for starters, it's based on data from about 38,000 farms across 119 countries. That might sound impressive, but it's only a small fraction of the 570 million farms globally. Just to give you perspective, New Zealand alone has more than 50,000 farms, and the UK has over 210,000. Yet these high efficiency producers are lumped in alongside countries such as Namibia with far less productive systems. This leads to one of the study's most misleading claims that it takes 119 square metres of land to produce 1,000 calories of beef. But when you look at countries like New Zealand, the numbers don't even come close to that. New Zealand can produce the same 1,000 calories of beef using just 3.6 to 5.6 square metres, more than 20 times more efficient. So, where does the inflated figure come from? The study gives equal weighting to all countries, regardless of how much food they actually produce. Take Namibia, for example. It contributes just 0.098% of global beef, yet it's treated the same as New Zealand, which produces nearly 8% of global beef exports. Namibia's land is dry, grass yields are low, and beef productivity is poor. But its inefficiency pulls the average way down. Then there's how the study counts land. It adds land used for animal feed into the equation when most animal feed is byproduct from crops grown for humans. Immediately, that removes 538 million hectares from the calculation. That's misleading, especially for systems like New Zealand, which rely almost entirely on pasture, not grain. And lastly, they treat all grazing land as if it could otherwise be used to grow crops, when in reality, most of it is unsuitable. In fact, only 30% of current livestock land can be used to grow crops, and they won't necessarily be high calorie crops. In fact, a lot of livestock farmers do grow crops in summer when the grass is high and they don't need so much for livestock. Then they put the livestock back on in winter when the grass is low. It's called integrating systems, something else Poor overlooked. So, if global beef production matched the efficiency of countries like New Zealand, the UK, or Southern Australia, how would the graph look? A bit more evenly matched, although still higher than Poor's cropland use estimates, but that needs closer attention too. I'm not seeing a full representation here of every crop. In fact, they're cherry picking some of the most calorie dense plant foods, sugar, rice, potatoes, but they completely ignore crops like asparagus, lettuce, or almonds, which have lower calorie yields per hectare than beef. Oddly enough, prawns, which score better than bananas, tomatoes, and oats, are also painted as the bad guys. Why? The issue is this: they separate plant and animal foods rather than just looking at the most efficient sources of any foods. Some meat systems outperform inefficient plant foods, but we're never told to eliminate those crops. Why not? The UN would have you believe we should be growing cucumbers where we could be raising beef. They've even come up with the planetary health diet to show people what to eat, supposedly to provide more food on less land. Slight problem. It's lacking nutrients. Take a look at what you need to eat to get a balanced diet. 1.3 kgs across 19 foods, and even then it's short of 15 nutrients and 3 are absent. What's more concerning is that the ones that are absent are the most important for neurological health. B12 deficiency is linked to conditions such as pernicious anemia, neuropathy, dementia, depression, fatigue, megablastic anemia, and stomach cancer. Look at what you get if you eat the same amount of beef. If anything tells you you need to eat meat, this is it. No shortage of B12 there, and you certainly don't need to eat 1.3 kgs. All right, it's not going to meet all your nutritional needs, but then it's only one food. Let's see what happens if you eat other animal-based foods. So this is lacking 7 nutrients versus 18 on the Eat Lancet plant-based diet, which can easily be fixed by eating a small portion of sweet potato. So let's go back to the question. Should we be growing cucumbers or any other low-calorie, low-nutrient plant-based food where we could be raising beef? I know some people will say it's because of emissions, but the emission calculations come out of the same study, and I'll address why they are equally flawed in another video. It's clear to me that the solution would be to dedicate land resources to the most efficient meat systems so we can get the nutrition we need while focusing on supplementing that with plants. But of course, they're not going to do that. And we all know why.